knew much of anything. I knew that I was defined by what was between my legs. I didn't know what it was for. I didn't know what it could do or what the men of the world seemed to want with it. But I knew they wanted it. There was never a mistake about that. In the beginning, I thought it was funny. In the beginning, I was flattered. All these boys listening to me, laughing at my jokes, all of the attention. I was the center of their circle. They flirted, and I flirted. I was free to do that, and it was fun. The air was warm that late summer night. The stars were bright and beautiful. I was giddy, if not drunk. The mood was light. I was young, I was carefree, I was out, I was on. And then their hands were on me. They were still flirting, and they were still laughing. I tried to keep the mood light, not overreact, not make a big deal out of nothing. But their hands were on me. I tried to laugh as I brushed them away. Just laugh, just a joke, just having fun. They were not laughing at the joke. They were laughing at me. I was the joke. I was not having fun. Then it wasn't flattering. Then it was humiliating. I realized a moment too late. The mood had shifted so suddenly. That once warm summer air became thick and hot as their bodies encircled mine. Their hands. So many hands were everywhere. Over my jeans, over my shirt, around my waist. I was being lifted, effortlessly lifted, and carried away easily by the largest of them. Carried through the woods, away from those not part of this group, away from anyone who might care to stop them. Carried until I was dropped without regard onto the ground. In a small clearing, I was on my back. I could see the stars. They were still bright, still beautiful, and totally indifferent to the fact that everything else about that night had changed. Again, I was the center of the circle. This time I did not want to be. I was not giddy. I was not drunk. I was scared. I was disappointed. I was embarrassed. And then I was almost resigned to what I knew was going to happen. At least now it made sense. Their attention, their flirting. At least now it was in a familiar context. They didn't actually like me. They only wanted to use me. This at least feels familiar. It's not like I hadn't had sex I didn't want to have before. It's easier not to fight. It's easier just to let it happen. It's easier, safer, and less horrible if I just convince myself that it doesn't mean anything. It's not important. If I could just pretend, inside and out, not to mind, I would be okay. You can't rape the willing. But that was only a brief thought, because as I glanced around me at the huge, drunk, stupid men surrounding me, I knew there's no surviving this, not for me. There's no coming back from this one. I'd been used before I got over it. I was damaged already, but this was different. There were too many of them. They were too big. Had I really let my life get this out of control? This time I had something out there to look forward to. Plans I'd made. My second year of college about to start, a semester in London. I had to go. I had to survive this. Face it. You put yourself here. This is the end of the road you chose. You were asking for it. You deserve this. Endure it. Get through it. Get over it. But I knew. In my soul, I knew that I would not get over this. I felt the regret of knowing my life would end this night. These boys, these very large, very drunk, very stupid young boys would have their way with me, discard me and move on. I would not move on. I would not get over this. My life will end here. It's like that moment when a roller coaster starts and you know there's no turning back. Whatever is to happen is out of your control and you have no choice but to proceed. I decided then that if my life was going to end in these woods, it would not be because I didn't emotionally survive being gang raped. That was too weak. If my life ended here in these woods, it would be because I fought to the death not to be gang raped. That was a death I could live with, so to speak. This cannot happen. Get off the roller coaster. Do what you need to do. Reverse the clock. Stop time. This will not happen. There is no other option. Decision made. It's simple now. I fought. Like I have never fought before. In fact, I fought, I kicked, I punched, I scratched, I bit, I spat, I pulled hair. Only twice was I coordinated enough to land a strike where it really counted, in the place that drove them. But still, I fought. I fought, and I fought, and I fought. Inside my mind, there was something screaming. It was loud, so loud, like a trapped, enraged animal, so loud I could hear it like thunder, or a train roaring through a tunnel. Loud, blood-rushing, heart-pounding, mind screaming, and I fought. Arms swinging, legs kicking, and I fought. But only a few of them fought back. My terror, my frantic, lunatic-like flailing, it seemed to wake the rest back into reality. One of them said something about this being disgusting and walked away. The others stayed to watch. It was dark. It was loud. I couldn't make out what they were saying. Random words. Bitch, slut, original things like that. Then someone said, clear as day, someone said, stop. Just leave her alone. She isn't worth the effort. And this was heard. One sentence heard above all the yelling, all the noise. One sentence heard. I just wasn't worth it. One sentence heard and it was over. That was all it took. Just one of them said stop, and they did. They walked away, all of them. They walked away. One of them stopped, turned back toward me. My heart stopped with him. I thought, here we go again. But he walked slowly toward me, put his hand over mine, and pulled me to my feet. He helped me up. He glanced at me quickly, then at the ground, and walked away shaking his head. In a brief moment when he looked at me, I saw in his eyes something that really confused me. I saw fear. I laughed. I laughed and I laughed and I laughed. And that was when the pain started. I was covered in bruises, all over my legs, up the sides of my body, mostly over my thighs and upper arms. I had fingerprints around my arms, my lip was cut, my hip was dislocated, although I wouldn't know that until the next day when the inability to walk would force me to go to the health clinic in town. I made up a story. I never told my mother. I never told my friends. I never told anyone until later, much later. I never told anyone until I realized that the story was not about something horrible and shameful that had happened to me. The story was one of liberation. The story was about the moment in my life when I decided I would take control of it. It's the story of how I came to know my own body, my will, my life. The watchman, George, woke me in the night. He said, "Sister, they're here." Often we heard rumors that the rebels were nearby and would put children in houses in town. But on this day, Ugandan Independence Day, October 9th, we decided to keep the girls with us, waiting for the soldiers stationed with us. But those soldiers were celebrating and never showed up. So we put the girls to bed early in the dormitory and told them to bolt the steel door from the inside. "Sister, they're here." The gate was illuminated like daylight. The dormitory was already surrounded with lights on in each window. We had to make the hardest decision of our lives. We said, what do we do? We said, let us hide. We threw off our habits and lay in the grass behind the banana garden. Across the garden, we could hear banging. We prayed, let those doors hold. We never heard one voice of our girls. We were sure they were inside. Finally, it was quiet. We saw smoke and fire from vehicles burned in the parish next door. We came out and met some of the girls. A little one said, "Sister, they took all of us. They took you. They took all of us." All the scene we saw. It was a devastation. Glass broken, sleepers, clothes. What shocked us was a hole in the wall. They'd removed a whole window and used the bars as a ladder. The girls will tell you how they tried to hide under beds, under mattresses. One of the little ones was raped near the church. This we came to know afterward. I changed my clothes. I went to the office and took some money and put it in a bag. I said I must go. John Bosco, one of our teachers, was with me. He said, "Sister, let us go die for our girls." We started walking. By now it was 7. They were 2 hours ahead of us. Bosco did not know the way, but on the ground were pieces of paper. For the holidays, we'd given sweets to the girls, wrappers, Pepsi cans. We asked villagers, had they passed here? We reached a swamp. The water reached to here. I kept thinking of the little ones who were not so tall. We entered the water. Because of the landmines, Bosco said, "Sister, put your feet where I put mine." The Lord helped us. One of the girls, Irene, had gotten away. When we found her, she was wearing a skirt as a blouse. Then we came to a hilly place. I was bending down to pick up an identity card, and Bosco said, "Sister, they're here." I'm not good at telling distance. They were maybe 300-400 meters ahead on a hill, climbing. More than 100 of our girls. It was one thing to follow, another to face them. When we went down into the valley, we couldn't see them. Then I could. They were in 2 lines. As we came near, they came to us, raising their hands, telling us to raise our hands. Their guns were pointed at us, and I saw their faces. They said something in Okoli I couldn't understand. The commander came forward and asked me where I'd been. He meant at the school. The Lord gave me the right words. I said I hadn't been there. I had taken Sister Alba to Lyra because she was sick. I said a small lie. I said I had money if he would give me back the girls. "We don't want money," he said, but he took the bag anyway. "Then follow me. I will give you the girls. Don't worry. I am Mariano Lagira." I was full of hope. I did not expect such a welcome. We went ahead, and I saw 3 or 4 girls with some rebels. When I tried to greet them, they kept their eyes down. Mariano Lagira led me to another group of rebels. I said, "Please, be so kind as to give me the girls." He said, "What are you doing?" "I'm praying," I said. I had a rosary. He took out his rosary. "See," he said, "I pray too." There were children guarding us. They had guns and necklaces made of bullets. The youngest one, about 10, looked the hardest. Mariano said he had to send a message to Coney, the leader of the Lord's Resistance Army. Soldiers laid down solar panels to charge batteries for the radio signal. We waited for the sun to charge it. At one point, helicopters carrying government troops on routine surveillance came nearby. They did not know about the girls then. We were told to hide ourselves. Some put cassava branches over themselves to make us look like walking trees. Soon the helicopters flew off. We had reached the rebels at 10:40, and it was now 4 o'clock. We sat for a while, drank water. There were a few houses nearby, a few women there. The commander sat on a stool, and a lady got a plastic bag for me to sit on. I said again, "Mariano, please give me the girls." He told me I should wash. When I came back from washing, he said, "There are 139 girls. I will give you," he wrote the number in the dirt like this, 109, and I will keep 30. I knelt in front of him. "Let my girls go. Keep me here." He said, "Only if Coney says yes." Then take me to Coney, I said. I wrote a note on a piece of paper. Dear Mr. Coney, please be so kind as to allow Mariano to release the girls. He took the letter I wrote, but I don't know if Coney ever got that note. It is difficult for me to say these things, because I cannot put into words what I felt at that moment. From where I was sitting, I saw a large group of my girls, and next to them a smaller group. He said, you go and write down the names of those girls there. I went over to the smaller group with a pen and paper. I said, girls, be good. But I did not finish that sentence. They started crying. They understood everything. In a second, I heard an order and a quick movement, and suddenly the soldiers began grabbing branches and beating the girls. One soldier jumped on the back of Grace. Carolyn, they slapped so hard. The girls stopped crying. I was seeing these things. The girls started looking at me. Then they started, one by one, all of them, to speak. No, not all of them. Some were just looking at me. Jessica said, my 2 sisters died in a car accident and my mother is sick. Another, sister, I have asthma. Sister, I'm in my period. Mariano, I said, please. He said, if you do like this, I give you none of them. I couldn't write. Then Angela, she's still with them now, still in Sudan. She started writing the names. I gave my rosary to Judith, the head girl, and said, you look after them. I gave them a sweater. I said, when we go, you must not look at us. No, sister, we won't. And then I had tea and biscuits with the commander. We ate. We greeted each other as great friends. He told me I could go and say goodbye. Then I started calling their names. One of the girls said, Janet is not here. She's over there. Janet had sneaked away trying to escape. Guess what I had to do? I told Angela, get her. If they realize she's gone. So I had to do this. Can you imagine? She was brought back. I told Janet she was maybe endangering the lives of her friends. She said, no, sister. I will not try to run away again. She, too, is still in Sudan. And then there was Charlotte. I don't forget her last words to me. Sister, are you coming back for us? I am saying words like this with the pain. There must be someone, somewhere, who can do something. Some of our girls have come back to us, 9. One, we have learned died. The children who want to run away stay for a time in the rehabilitation centers. Go and see them. You'll see the look in their eyes, what they have been through. They are made to kill other children. They are made to have the rebels' babies. When I think that I footed for only for a few hours, and they do this for months, for years, when they manage to return, their hands and the soles of their feet are hard as this table. It's a miracle they're surviving. In a crossfire, Jacqueline's got a bullet in the neck, Pamela in the nose. Jacqueline's mother has died of sorrow, and Jacqueline doesn't even know yet. They're just children. Can you imagine?